Hi, it's Dr. Parikh. Today we're talking about how to discuss your possible findings. We already did this somewhat, so I'm just going to hit some highlights. When you're rewriting your discussion section, you're going to keep using prospective language. So will, would, might, may, these sort of future-oriented verbs. You're going to be tentative, and you're going to pay attention to when you need to be sort of broad and vague and when you should be really specific. Because sometimes we want to use kind of plain English words, but when we're talking specifically about results, we do want to say, we want to recognize, for example, if I'm using the PCLC, the Post-Traumatic Checklist for Civilians, that's not the same as, like, if I want to measure someone's height, I can be pretty, I can trust pretty far that my ruler, if it's a reasonably high quality ruler, is going to be giving me an accurate measurement of height, and that's exactly what, I can measure height, you can measure height, we can use different rulers, and as long as they're, again, reasonably high quality, they're going to be the same. On the other hand, when it comes to psychology, there's a lot more to measuring anything we're interested in. And so it's really tough to get good measures. And so we recognize that distance, that there's some distance between what we really want to measure, which is some magical, true PTSD measure, and what we're actually measuring, which is the way this particular checklist measures PTSD. And so we recognize that there's that gap. And so that's part of why we are very specific, that it's, it's not, when we're talking about our specific results, it's not pure variable. It's this way that we're operationalizing and choosing to measure that variable, which may be really good, it may be really poor. We don't know. And use the examples of language. So if this happens, then it might mean stay tentative, be reasonable and realistic. I know this theory one tends to be tough for people, but just try. For this, especially for the theory part, I'm grading you more on your effort than how wonderfully sophisticated it is. So I want to see that you're trying to do this. I know that this theory section in particular is kind of a growth edge. It's an area that you're pushing and trying to figure out. And I know this whole class probably feels like a growth edge, but most of the rest of it, most students by the end of the class are pretty good at picking out limitations, professional applications, and future research. Theory, it's a higher level skill. It's one you're probably not going to get really good at for a while, but it's great for you to be trying it now. Remember, for everything else in your discussion, it needs to be tailored to your study. And again, you're still using that prospective language. And so you want to say, this study would not, or instead of did not, you would say would not. So make sure you're saying future tense, be gentle with your language, and pay attention to the prompts on how you should be discussing the variables. Thanks. Bye.